Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 5-game NBA slate that starts at 7:30 today. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? I didn't play NBA yesterday, I just didn't like the slate at all. Should be back today. Have some pretty good games on this one. The injury reports got some guys on it, but it's not as bad as yesterday's was. So let's go ahead and get into this slate here. We're gonna start with the Kings. Huter is questionable for the Suns. Beal is out. For the Jazz, Kessler is out. For the Celtics, Brown is questionable. For the Grizzlies, Tillman and Kennard are questionable, and Smart is out. For the Trailblazers, Brogdon, Simmons, Williams, and Henderson are out. For the Rockets, Thompson is out, and Easton is questionable. And for the Lakers, LeBron is questionable, and Vincent and Vanderbilt are out. Looking at our guards here, we're going to start with Skylar Mays. Now, he, for Portland, has played pretty well so far this season. He's been a little bit inconsistent as a starter, but it was really just the two games that he faced tougher opponents, slow down games. This is not one of those, so I look for him to have a big game here. And he's got a lot of potential on this slate. We're also going to look at Fred Van Vliet for Houston. He's played very well this season, and he gets a nice plus matchup here against the Lakers, who really don't play defense that much, and so he should have a high upside game on this one. He did only score 31 fantasy points the last time against this team, but I look for him to bounce back as he didn't shoot very well in that one and played less minutes because they got blown out. They blew out the Lakers, but I don't expect a blowout this time, especially if LeBron and stuff plays. Then we're going to look at Jordan Clarkson for Utah. He's played very well, though he has been streaky. His last 4 games have been over 40 fantasy points, and while he's playing really well, he's somebody you want to look at. He does have a good matchup here against Phoenix, a team he just put 52 fantasy points against last time out. Jalen Green also in play for oopsie for Houston. He's played very well this season. He's been very consistent. He's only had 2 games that have been kind of not that great, but he's been playing really solid. He's got a good matchup here against a team that really doesn't play good defense, and he scored 45 fantasy points last time he played them. I don't expect that much, but I do think he's going to get in the mid 30s, and he definitely has some nice potential on this slate. De'Aaron Fox has also played very well lately. He's only played a handful of games because he's back from injury the last 3, and he's played great in those games. I look for him to continue to play well and score close to 50 fantasy points most games out. He's been very good, and he's hitting threes and getting assists and rebounds as well, which are really boosting his potential. Then we're going to look at uh, oops, George for Utah. Now he's only started the last 3 games, but he's played very well in those games, averaging at least 28 fantasy points in the three. So I like his potential here. He's still a little bit too cheap for what he's been doing, and his assist numbers are rising. If he continues to start, he'll be continuing to be a good option, especially with his price being cheap. You can also consider D'Angelo Russell if LeBron sits and Drew Holiday if Brown sits for the Celtics at this position. Moving on our forwards, we're going to start with Jeremy Grant for Portland. Now he's played very well, but inconsistent this season. But with all the guys out, his usage has risen, and he's been over 30 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5. He's actually had quite a few games. I think 7 of the last 8 over 30. So he's still at a pretty good price point. He's not a great price point, but it's not terrible. And he's got a good matchup here against a faster paced game, so that should give him some potential here. Grant Williams is kind of a contrarian play today. He has a low floor. He's had some very low floor games, but he's also got a good ceiling. As in certain types of matchups, he plays really well. I think this is going to be similar to the Washington game where he's going to have some more upside. His ceiling isn't super high, but he's definitely cheap and has some potential on this one. Then we're looking at Porzingis for Boston. Now he can also play at center, so to keep that in mind. But if Brown was to sit, he would definitely be a huge option and probably a core play. With if Brown plays, he's still a good play. His price is just still a little bit too cheap for what he's done so far this season. He's got a couple games where low floors, but this is a good matchup for him, and he should have some potential for a double double in this one. And I just like his upside a lot here. Then we're going to look at Collins for Utah. He's played very well this season. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but for the most part, he's played pretty consistently around the 27 fantasy point range in the last few games. And then he's had some big games recently too. In the last 2, he's had over 39 fantasy points each, including a game against Phoenix where he scored 40 fantasy points. If he can get pretty close to that and get a double double, then he'll definitely pay off here. I don't think that he's going to score like 50 fantasy points, but he's still got really good upside, especially being that he only needs 31 to pay off. Then we're going to look at our centers. And obviously, Porzingis and Collins can play at center as well. We're going to look at DeAndre Ayton. Now, Ayton has been inconsistent as he typically is, but this is a good matchup for him. He should be able to get into the mid 30s, if not 40 fantasy points in this one. Again, he's been very streaky, but that's how he is. And while they do have a lot of usage for him, he doesn't always shoot very well. So, but I do like his potential in this one, and he has a nice matchup, and it's not a defensive matchup, so it should benefit him as well. Sabonis is also in play for Sacramento. He's played absolutely phenomenal lately, especially with Fox playing. He's been over 50 fantasy points in all but like one of those games this season. Granted, that hadn't been many, but he's playing very well. He's been close to triple doubles in just about every game the last 5 games, and his price is still really decent. And so I do think he's a good option on this slate. And then Sengun for Houston, also in play today. He's been pretty good at this price range throughout the year. He's averaging 40 fantasy points a game, and he really doesn't strive too far down from that. I think his low is 35 on the season, and his high is around 55. He's got some good potential here, and he's just cheap enough in a plus matchup to be considerable. Also consider Anthony Davis if LeBron sits. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.